today's video, we're reviewing Yesterday, and by that I don't mean the previous day, but yet another point-and-click adventure game by Pendulo Studios that was released in 2012. Unlike the Runaway series that we've reviewed on this channel, Yesterday has a much darker theme, covering a story about a serial killer and an amnesiac who has a far more interesting background than you'd first think. Oh, and there's a little bit of insanity thrown in too. If there's one thing to be said about Pendulo Studios, they like their characters crazy. They've even included a revisit of the mental institution from the final Runaway game as well.
Please understand that this is highly irregular.
Anyway, in this game, there's satanic rituals, a pervert,
Pretty photos. Naked, dirty, trashy, fifi, lascivious.
The front desk clerk is a little odd, don't you think?
I don't remember him. I'll have him fired, all right?
a blind man who says everything twice,
You are not ready.
And the unknown sense?
You are not ready.
When will I be?
Bring me a truth flower.
And you'll teach me to use the unknown sense?
Bring me a truth flower.
a keyboard that makes a phone call, and that same blind man also makes a frank admission.
How did you go blind, Master?
For touching myself too much. But I shouldn't have. Things you do when you're young.
No wonder this guy looks like he's sucked on a lemon. The game centres on two main characters, John Yesterday, who is the amnesiac,
I'm John Yesterday.
and Henry White, a rich company heir with a few secrets.
By the way, I love grapes.
The story is mostly good, if a little confusing at first, but the more you play, the more bits and pieces of the story fit together. Some scenes seem slightly odd, with still scenes presented in complete silence. I'm guessing it's an attempt at being artistic, but at times I just thought I was having sound issues. The gameplay is decent enough, with object combinations being logical for the most part, and a couple of basic puzzles thrown in, but it isn't without some minor flaws.
Oh my god!
Firstly, I'm not a big fan of the type of hotspot highlighter they use for this game, since it highlights things extremely briefly, and then knocks you out of clicking the button again for a few seconds. It's not terrible, but mildly annoying. Second, the clue button also takes a while to reactivate again, requiring you to do other actions, like moving between different areas, or speaking to characters. Again, it's not the worst of game mechanics, but I feel like the delay is just there to slightly lengthen the game, rather than add any value. Thirdly, the game doesn't allow manual saves, instead making use of an autosave feature. Fortunately, I didn't have any issues with the game myself, as I played it in one sitting, but I did read about others suffering from some problems with it. There is a slight goof in the game where John uses Steam to see a word in the mirror, and yet when they show the scene with the name appearing, he has somehow vanished from the reflection. There's also a piece of paper left in an envelope that has 1852 written on it, but the subtitle text shows 1853.
I don't understand any of this.
Graphically, the game looked decent enough at my native resolution of 1080p, albeit with some unusual shadows, and the soundtrack used was acceptable, with voice acting that was adequate. I guess that means I just called it average.
You're pathetic and you're a scumbag, right?
Overall, I found the game to be an unusual but interesting experience.
Pauline,
Yes?
there is one little thing that I haven't told you yet.
What?
I have to go to a mental hospital in New York.
No, he's totally round the bend. No one pays any attention to his delusions.
It was initially slow to get going, and by the time it started to really make sense, it was all over. It took me a little over 5 hours to complete, so it's much shorter than any of Pendulo's previous games. There isn't any padding to the story though, so that's a plus. However, as it's such a short game, it'd make more sense to buy it in a sale. There is another game in the series called Yesterday Origins, and I'm interested enough in this game that I'll be getting it in the future.
This is going to be fun.
For now though, that's all for this video. Goodbye from me, and please leave a comment below.
I have to go, but I'll come back for you.
Is this it?
Yeah, it must be.